Hello, everybody. Glad to be here. It's Mr. Mick, Tractor Time with Mr. Mick, and I found a couple of gems today, so I was so excited. First of all, I was digging through some old toys out in the shed, and I found this kind of nicer, newer toy. I had a bunch of old junk toys in there, but mixed in was this nicer, newer toy. And on the bottom it says Marshall, February 1994. So this was a present for Marshall in February 1994. It's a VAC case toy. And I've many times in my life wanted to buy a VAC case toy. And here I had one in the garage and I didn't even know it. So dug out the VAC case toy and then found a box of books too. And in the box was a book called It's Too Noisy. And this one says, to Nicholas Mickelson, September of 1990. So I'm excited for both of them. This was one of our fun books to read when the kids were little. It's Too Noisy. Once there was a little house. Do you know who lived there? A poor farmer lived in that house with his wife, a grandmother, and a grandfather. So there they are, husband, wife, grandma, grandpa. Lots of children and a little bitty baby in a crib. That's who lived in the little house. Day and night there was always lots of yelling and singing and snoring and laughing and fighting and crying. It was too noisy. The poor farmer wanted quiet. He went to a wise man. Wise man, he said, my house is full of people. It's too noisy. Tell me what to do. So I like this picture of the farmer trying to get that sound out of his ears. The wise man closed his eyes and thought. Here's what you do, he said. You bring your rooster and your chickens in the house. That's a funny thing to do, thought the farmer, but he did what the wise man told him. He got his rooster and his chickens and he put them in the house. That night there was lots of yelling and singing and snoring and laughing and fighting and crying, but now there was lots of clucking and crowing too. So now he has chickens in his house. The next day the farmer went back to the wise man. I put the rooster and the chickens in the house, he said, but it's worse than ever. Well, then you must put your pigs and your sheep in the house, said the wise man. Well, that is a very funny thing to do, thought the farmer. But he did what the wise man said. That night there was lots of yelling and singing and snoring and laughing and fighting and crying and clucking and crowing, and now there was oinking and baaing too. It was worse than before. The farmer went back to the wise man. Noise, 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 he said. I cannot stand it anymore. The wise man said, well, now put your donkey and your cow in the house. Is this wise man crazy, thought the farmer? But he did what the wise man said. He put his donkey and his cow in the house. There he is, putting the donkey and the cow in too. Now there was yelling, singing, snoring and laughing, fighting and crying, clucking and crowing, oinking and baaing, but now there was braying and mooing. It was so noisy the poor farmer did not sleep all night long. The farmer went back to the wise man one last time. Wise man, he said, my house is like a barn. I cannot stand it. The wise man smiled. Here's what you do, he said. Take all the animals out of your house. So the farmer ran home, and he did just what the wise man said. He put out the chickens. He put out the rooster. He put out the pigs. He put out the sheep. He put out the donkey, and he put out the cow. There he's pulling the donkey out. Doesn't look like the donkey wants to go. Was the house still noisy? Well, there was still yelling and singing, and there was still snoring and laughing, and there was even some fighting and crying, but there was no clucking, no crowing, no oinking, no baaing, and thank heaven there was no mooing or braying either. And to this farmer, the little house seemed as quiet can be. It's quiet now and he's happy. It's too noisy. Thanks for listening.